Hi everyone, this is Sanjana Ramesh and I'm here to talk to you guys about the article that I selected for this week's article review, and I'm going to compare it to the content that we read about during week 4. So my article comes from the Forbes website and it's called What Microsoft Japan's Successful 4-Day Week Suggests About Work-Life Balance by Lizette Voitoko. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So in this article, Voitoko discusses the Japan Microsoft offices who have been experimenting with a 4-day work week and the effects on the company and its employees. Now, Voitoko doesn't go much into the overall work-life balance in Microsoft offices around the world, or in Japan particularly, but when I did my own research, I found another article on inc.com stating that Microsoft has always been a company that has had very long hours and a lot of pressure to deliver great products. So overall, on that website, I found a quote saying, overall Microsoft employees gave the company 3.3 stars out of 5 for work-life balance on Glassdoor, which is a wonderful website which has reviews about different companies and has job listings and all of that. So with this experiment, the results showed an increased 40% of productivity boost and over 90 employees saying that they preferred a shorter week. Of course, I think most people would definitely prefer a shorter week. I definitely think I do. There were other things that were positives about this experiment, which included 23% less electricity used and 59% fewer papers printed. All great things that can help move the needle forward on greener living as well. I know that would definitely be something of great importance these days, and especially in the nonprofit fields that I work in, which is so heavily based on wildlife and environmental conservation. So that would be quite interesting to see in my companies that I've worked for if we cut back on the days of the weeks that we worked, to see how that would change for that as well. So the next step for the company is to try another experiment in the Japan offices at Microsoft, and it involves more of a flexible work schedule, but not a 4-day week. So some would call this a flex schedule, which is something a lot of companies already do. For example, I have friends that work over at Coca-Cola in Atlanta, and they have this, they get to work a flex schedule, which allows for them to work longer hours during the first 4 days of the week and then take every other Friday off. This has definitely made a difference in their life, and they claim that it has increased their productivity, and overall they feel like the company is listening to their problems of being overworked and allowing for some sort of relief. Now, with these 4-day weeks and having to work longer hours, they are still drained after that because it's longer days, but they do feel like, at least with that flex schedule and having that Friday off every other week, which is 2 Fridays a month, they can kind of figure it out, and they can even go take a little bit of longer vacations or more frequent vacations throughout the year, which is a great thing for especially young people in their 20s, 30s who like to travel and still want to travel and haven't settled down. So I know that I would definitely love to do that. So the article goes on to give a few more examples of productivity increasing in other companies around the world, including a company in New Zealand who permanently adopted this change when there was an increase of 24%. A Chinese travel agency allowed the call center employees to work from home and had an increase of 13% productivity, and another a work from anywhere program gained 4.4% productivity. Now, of course, this depends entirely on the type of job that you have. When it does mean like call center stuff, it is something that can be worked into working from home or something like that. But there are definitely jobs that have to be there much more often, so that does change things, which I will kind of get into a little bit later. So Wojtoko gives some numbers to show the reason for these changes being imperative. In 2015, according to CNBC, 25% of Japanese companies expected 80-hour work weeks. The reason the Japanese culture of overworking came into study in the first place was unfortunately because of a Dentsu employee who committed suicide on Christmas Day in 2015. In 2017, another reporter died after clocking 159 hours of overtime. There is even a Japanese word for their overwork culture called karoshi, which means death by overwork. So since then, the Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has introduced work style reform, which is a great step in the right direction. He placed an annual cap of 720 hours of overtime per person. While there are obvious pros to changing the work week and giving employees more flexibility in their schedule, there are definitely some cons. For one, changing the cap for big companies means that a lot of the burden of overworking might be passed on to smaller companies. And there is a problem of most executives not being in favor of this. There are some companies that have reduced vacation to make up the lost time, and others have tried the 4-day week but went back to 5-day week because of other companies would have had it leg up.